soy Hans.
Yo soy Arquímedes.
Yo soy Raúl Torres.
Eu sou Eminota.
Yo soy Alejandro.
Eu sou Charles Darwin.
Yo soy Luis Pasteur.
Eu sou Maria Virginia.
Yo soy Leonardo da Vinci.
Eu sou Sócrates.
Yo soy Pitágoras.
Yo soy Ford, Henry Ford.
Eu sou Hipatia.
Yo soy Nikola Tesla.
Eu sou Josephine Bell.
Yo soy Steve Jobs.
Yo soy Stephen Hawking.
Yo soy Asimov.
Eu sou Ana.
So the theme that we are asked to speak about today is charting a new path, navigating a world of unknown. Now, for me, when I look about how to navigate a world of unknown, I see how have we done it in the past. I see how can we take some ideas from the past. How can I draw some example from my own life, and what are the skill sets that are required to navigate this world of unknown? Flash forward today, if you see, we're facing a current social, economical, and cultural turmoil. But is this something due to the pandemic? Is this something that we have faced like we have never faced this before? If you look back in our history and you talk to any historian, you'll find that this is not the first time that we have had this much disruption due to a pandemic. We had pandemic in the 14th century, the 15th, and many other. And each time, each pandemic brought about a new world forward to us, actually. By historical milestones, there were discoveries that were made. There were a lot of creativity that flourished, but at the same time, society structures and social disorder were also very common in those era. But if you look at the opportunity that were created and the discoveries that were made, these were like world-changing ideas. And these ideas, namely, were the invention of printing press, the new world discovered by Columbus, America. The Vasco da Gama sea route to Asia. So all of these world-changing ideas, scientific and technological achievements created immense opportunity, and they equally shattered the social structure and social orders of the society, leaving many astray. But from these extreme tension, we had a new world that emerged. So history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So we take a step back from the immediacy of this enormous burden of this current crisis and place it into a broader context that we find that we are sailing and navigating a storm of another renaissance. Now, once again, the human creativity, resilience, and achievement will create a new age of opportunity. If you look at all the disruptions, right? The mass production wave, the industry wave, the wave of information, and each time you see new companies and new organizations emerge that hopped on the opportunity and created amazing organization. And these are like IBM in mainframe, Apple and Intel in personal computers in the dot-com era, and the Google, Amazon, and Facebook. So new firms arise out of these difficult times, and this is how this has been. But there is a big major difference. And this difference that we are facing in this pandemic is that changes that have happened in the past have happened over years, but the changes that have happened in this pandemic has been happened in either overnight, or else would have taken over years. And in this short period of time, we have seen outrage that have sparked movements that are driving radical changes. And these changes are around existential issues like diversity, equality, inclusion, and climate change. And because of this, regimes are being challenged. The power and impact of social media is raising crucial questions. Economies have seen fortune change in a matter of weeks, and so have industries, businesses, and we have seen unexpected rises and illustrious fallers in this due to this impact. One example is Tesla, as you all know. It's one of the most valuable car-making company in the world, but is it producing more cars than Toyota? No, it's not. But the idea is that all of these technology is changing the aspects and different areas of our lives. According to one futuristic, we're living in this decade of that in this next 100 years, we will be experiencing 20,000 years of technological advances that will substantially change the way we are living. And this would be accelerated by exponential transformation and immediate propagation of radical change. And these changes would be the fundamental changes brought about in our ideas, the movements we are creating, the technologies, the growth, the habit, and simply these changes will be happening at the speed, at the scale that we have never seen before. As a result, what is relevant to us changes instantly. Companies are not able to figure out, and organizations can only partly influence or understand these changes or predict these changes. People expectations have never been more unstable and unforeseeable, but change isn't just faster, but it's bumpier too. As we are coming out of the COVID-19, the most enduring legacy of COVID-19 will not be the face mask, the graffitis on the walls, or the social distancing, but it would be the end of continuity as a default assumption for many of us. But that means that we will be constantly living in a world of change. These changes would happen to us all around us. But living with so much uncertainty is hard for humans. As humans, we are hardwired to crave for information about our future in the same way we crave for food, sex, and primary rewards. Our brains perceive ambiguity as threat, and it tries to protect us by diminishing our ability to focus on anything other than creating certainty. And as digital disruption, and as this disruption replaces normality, we are discovering ourselves more vulnerable, restless, confused than ever before, and our rising expectation as customers are morphing into something deeper and more emotional. As we are all torn between this fear of being constantly trampled over by a new black swan event or the next pandemic or a next change that is right around the corner, but also we are hoping that we are going to hop on his back and seize the opportunity, we find ourselves constantly in a state of anxiety, a constant tension between fear and hope. Flash forward right now, as businesses are coming out of the lockdown, we're coming out of this pandemic, we as students and businesses are facing that more than the changes that have brought forth overnight requires us to reskill. And one study tells us that 80% of workers are facing critical skills gap. The number one employability by McKinsey in its recent study is adaptability and coping with uncertainty. So in this future, as a student and as businesses, we all would not be required to become an expert in a certain vertical or in a certain subject matter, or neither would we be required to have a small knowledge of lateral skill set. We would be required to have an X-shaped skill set, which requires us to go in depth, breadth, diversity, and ability to stretch into new domains. This would be the new future of our skill set that would help us to understand and go into different areas. But again, uncertainty is the only certainty that is going to be available for us. And one good quote from one good mathematician, John Allen: knowing how to live with insecurity is the only security. If I look back at my own personal story and my own personal experiences, when we as a family, we moved and migrated to another country, and then from there I had, accepting that change, accepting that environment, it was hard for us. It was hard for the whole family. It was hard for me. And when I moved careers from banking to supply chain, it was again a change for me, and it was a hard change to handle. But when I see that there were these changes that made me more comfortable with these unforeseen things, I saw that I was able to cope up with these uncertainties around me. And how I did it, I just want to share a couple of my personal few rules that I found that worked for me. And I would be happy as a student to share that with you, that you should also think about these things when you are faced with an uncertain world. The first of them is don't resist. Whatever you resist, persist. So ironically, when we resist, we are stopping ourselves and prolonging our pain and making it difficult by amplifying the challenging emotions that we are feeling. What we should be doing is we should practice acceptance. Acceptance allows us to see the reality of the situation in the present moment, and it frees us from the emotion baggage that we are feeling, and it allows us to move forward. So don't resist. The second I would say is invest in yourself. The best resource that you have right now for making a contribution to the world is you. When that resource is depleted, your most valuable asset is damaged. In other words, when we underinvest in our bodies, mind, and spirit, we destroy the most essential tool for leading the best version of ourselves. So do the things that are good for your mind, body, and soul, like talking to a friend, connecting to your relationship, having enough sleep, when you get tired, spend time having fun and playing for the joy of it. The third is find healthy way to comfort yourself. Think of this as a brain pushing you to a comfort item, like, for instance, one extra glass of wine or alcohol, or having that impulsive buying on your Amazon cart. All of these are on the negative spectrum of comforting yourself, right? If you're turning to social media, junk food, alcohol, and all of these, and you're indulging in all of these are the negative side of the things, where you need to move away from them and actually focus on the positive side. How can you make those positive comfort activities, like going for a hike, going for a walk, talking to your neighbors, scheduling a call with a friend, watching a funny video. And for me personally, what worked for me was connecting to the divine. Being connected to that divine usually removes the stress and the anxiety that you have things, and it engages your mind into something bigger than yourself. Fourth, thoughts are not facts. In uncertain time, it's particularly important not to believe thoughts that are arguing for the worst case scenario. Instead, visualize and imagine things that would be the best possible scenarios. Focus on the right things, and that leads me into the fifth point, which is be in the present. Practice mindfulness, and the best way to do that is controlling your breath. So one shaman told me, and he said that The best way of making yourself in the present and practicing mindfulness is focusing on your 4-7-8 breaths. 4 breaths in, 7 breaths hold, and 8 breaths out. And this is the best way to bring yourself into the present and to detach yourself from the emotion, because when you go down into the spiral of a negative thought, your body also changes and releases toxic hormones. And to bring yourself back, focus on your breath. 6, stop looking for someone to blame. Avoid the victim mentality. When you take responsibility of your life and the power that comes with it, from creating the best version of your life, you are in control. You could do small things that would make a lasting effort, but avoiding the victim mentality where you put the blame on someone else and you say that the government has done this or someone else has done this, or they wronged me. Stop doing that. Stop playing the victim. And lastly, the most important part is that find meaning and purpose in your work or in your life. That is easier said, harder done, but this is something that you should do actually. To feel happier, when we have a purpose, we work hard, we work longer, we work better, we are more creative, we feel happier about the work we're doing, because it's not just impacting us, it's impacting the whole, for the greater good of this world. So finding meaning is very important in anything that you do. And that concludes our discussion. So it is clear that the global technological, fast-changing business environment holds unprecedented challenges for businesses and students alike. We will face a world in which the impact of society is widely recognized, but without straightforward guidelines on how to navigate it. And hopefully in this session, I have given you some guiding light on how to manage our constantly changing world and how to navigate it. Thank you for your time.